If you've ever had to wear braces, headgear, or clear aligners, or if you've had your wisdom teeth painfully carved out of your gums, you've probably wondered, why did evolution mess up our mouths so badly? Why are we the only animals on Earth that need metal wires glued to our teeth just to make them fit inside our heads? If you look at modern dentistry, you are told that crowded teeth, crooked smiles, and impacted wisdom teeth are just genetic bad luck. We are taught that our ancestors had terrible teeth, and that modern dentistry is a miraculous cure for our naturally flawed anatomy. But here's the truth. Your DNA is not broken, and for 99% of human history, dental crowding did not exist. If you go to an archaeological museum and look at human skulls from 15,000 years ago, you will notice something absolutely staggering. Almost every single skull, from Europe to Africa to the Americas, has a broad, powerful jaw. Their teeth are perfectly straight, their smiles are wide, and their third molars, their wisdom teeth, are fully erupted, functional, and fit into the jaw with plenty of room to spare. Ancient humans didn't have orthodontists. They didn't have toothbrushes. They didn't have floss. Yet, they had teeth that look like they belong in a toothpaste commercial. To solve this mystery, we don't need to look at genetics. We have to look at how living bones actually grow. Most people think of bones as rigid, inert concrete pillars that are genetically programmed to grow to a specific size and then stop. But bone is actually a dynamic, living tissue that is constantly adapting to its environment. In biology, there is a fundamental rule called Wolff's Law, which states that bone grows and remodels itself in direct response to the mechanical forces applied to it. If you put heavy physical stress on a bone, it gets thicker and stronger. If you don't use it, it weakens and wastes away. And for millions of years, the human jaw was subjected to an absolute, daily physical workout. Our hunter-gatherer ancestors didn't eat soft, cooked pasta, blended smoothies, or processed bread. They ate wild game, tough fibrous tubers, raw nuts, and dense, raw plants. To get enough calories to survive, ancient children and adults had to chew for hours every single day. Think about the sheer mechanical force required to grind down raw roots and tough meat. This intense, repetitive chewing applied massive physical pressure to the bones of the face. And this is where the magic happens. During childhood, when the skull is still soft and growing, this heavy chewing muscle activity sends a powerful biological signal to the jaw bones. It stimulates the release of growth factors that physically expand the maxilla, the upper jaw, and the mandible, the lower jaw. The upper jaw grows wide, pushing the cheekbones out and keeping the nasal passages broad and open. The lower jaw grows forward and broadens to match it. The result of all this heavy-duty chewing is a wide, spacious dental arch. And because the arch is wide, all 32 teeth have exactly enough room to grow in perfectly straight, with the wisdom teeth sliding into place at the very back of the mouth without a struggle. But then, roughly 12,000 years ago, everything completely collapsed. We invented agriculture. We stopped chasing wild game and gathering fibrous wild plants, and instead, we settled down and began growing wheat, corn, rice, and barley. We learned to boil grains into soft porridges, bake flour into soft bread, and cook meats until they were tender and falling off the bone. Almost overnight, evolutionary speaking, we engineered chewing out of the human diet. Because we were no longer chewing tough, fibrous foods, the mechanical stress on our developing jaw bones completely vanished. Children's jaws, lacking the physical workout they needed to expand, simply stopped growing to their full biological potential. The jaws grew narrower, they grew shorter, they began to recede. But here is the catch. While our jaws shrunk, our teeth did not. The size and number of our teeth are still largely determined by our genetics. So, you have a modern child with the genetic blueprint for 32 adult teeth, but with a jaw that is 20 to 30% smaller than it was built to be. When those adult teeth try to erupt, they find themselves in a tight, crowded biological space. They have no choice but to twist, overlap, and grow in crooked. And when the wisdom teeth finally try to push through at age 18, they find the back of the jaw completely blocked off. They get trapped under the bone, become impacted, and have to be surgically removed. We don't have wisdom teeth because evolution made a mistake. We have wisdom teeth because our jaws are too small to fit the teeth we were always meant to have. If you think this is a slow, gradual evolutionary shift that took thousands of years, you are wrong. It can happen in a single generation. In the early 20th century, A Canadian dentist named Weston Price traveled the world to study isolated, indigenous populations who were still eating their traditional diets. He visited Swiss mountain villagers, Gaelic Islanders, Inuit tribes, and Australian Aborigines. Across the board, he found that individuals eating their traditional, tough, unrefined diets had broad faces, perfectly straight teeth, and virtually zero tooth decay. But Price also studied the exact same populations after they had been introduced to modern industrialized foods, refined flour, sugar, and canned goods. The results were terrifying. Within just one generation, the children of parents who had perfect teeth began growing up with narrow faces, crowded teeth, and dental arches so narrow they required orthodontic intervention. It wasn't a slow genetic mutation. It was a rapid, developmental response to a sudden, catastrophic change in diet. And this jaw shrinkage doesn't just ruin our smiles, it is actively ruining our health. When your upper jaw underdevelops and narrows, it doesn't just affect your teeth, it also narrows your nasal cavity. Because the nasal passages are constricted, it becomes physically harder to breathe through your nose. To compensate, modern humans have become chronic mouth breathers. But mouth breathing is a biological disaster. When you breathe through your mouth, your tongue drops from the roof of your mouth to the floor of your mouth. But the tongue is actually the body's natural orthodontic expander. During childhood, the tongue resting firmly against the roof of the mouth is what physically pushes the upper jaw outward, widening the face. When the tongue drops, the upper jaw collapses even further, creating a long, narrow face, recessed chin, and sunken eyes. This narrow airway is why modern humans have an epidemic of snoring, chronic sinus issues, and obstructive sleep apnea, a dangerous condition where your airway literally collapses while you sleep, starving your brain of oxygen. We are walking around with faces that are structurally deformed compared to our ancestors, simply because we don't chew enough. So, what does this mean for you practically today? It means that the crooked teeth and impacted wisdom teeth we see everywhere today are not a natural part of being human. They are a disease of civilization, a physical symptom of a modern environment that is out of sync with our evolutionary biology. Our ancestors didn't need metal brackets or plastic aligners because they gave their jaws the work they were designed to do. We have spent centuries focusing on cleaning and straightening our teeth, but we forgot to take care of the bones that hold them. Your teeth are not naturally crooked. Your mouth is just too small for the evolutionary legacy you carry inside you. And if you want to understand what those wide-jawed ancestors actually spent their days doing when they weren't busy chewing on raw roots, click the video on your screen right now. I'll see you there.